Greetings and welcome to another broadcast of Keys to Your Best Life. I am your host, Maggie Cavanaugh with Moving Forward Ministries, and this conversation is designed to help you move forward in your walk with the Lord. And I know the coolest people on the planet. And Pastor Barry Stallings is become a friend over the years. He is a pastor, an author, a radio host. He does all kinds of so many things we don't have time to mention. So if you look down in the bio, you can read all about him, and you'll want to check out his website that's there as well. But Pastor Barry, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you for having me back on. It's been several years. Of course, we saw each other at NRB this past February. Yes. Good to catch up with you there a little bit. You were at the book signing for Esther 3 that I had there with all the other authors. And so it's good to be back on with you. Absolutely. And excited to hear about what God's doing in your ministry too.
Oh, yes. Well, he's doing so many things, but I want to focus today on what he's doing through you, because we had done a broadcast, I think back in 2022, about Esther. Okay, so listen, y'all, you have to know that when God gave this to him, he didn't always lay everything out for him, right? He wrote a book. He said, yes, he did it. And now God has added to it. And so we talked previously, and I'll link the other one down in the bio so you can go back and listen to how that all transpired. And we could talk a little bit about the first book, but I want to talk a little bit, hit on the second, third book, but I also really excited about the fourth book coming out. Pastor Barry, Esther has become a person that we all can relate to in some form or fashion. So if y'all don't know the story, we're going to hear about it. So Pastor Barry, share with us about how God has just put these books in your heart and why.
Well, just going back to review the beginning, book one, I remember for years, being a pastor, the Lord lays messages on our heart, and you understand that as well, being a writer yourself, and how he lays messages on our heart. And I'm like, okay, so I held on to it. And then the week between Christmas and New Year's 2018, I sat down and just started typing. And Esther had several names. I think I called her Ellen one time. I think I called her Eloise or something. I can't remember. But anyway, so then I thought about Esther in the Bible. And I also thought about, be honest with you, Esther was the name of Grandma Walton. And Esther was going to be an older lady. And so now let me clarify something, because several folks have asked me this. This is not a story based on Esther of the Bible, because Esther was Old Testament. Right. And Christmas is New Testament because, after Christ. So after the birth of Christ. So anyway, with that said, it took me a week to write it all down. And the Lord just blessed a Christmas gift with Esther, sort of like a Dickens spin from a perspective that I always wanted to write a book about a Christian carol, but I think that name was already taken and it was another story. And so Esther's spiritual birth really, I guess, was revived. It was revived in book one. And then we went to book two whenever you had me on there. And I don't want, in case somebody hadn't read the book, I need to be careful, I guess, as we were talking about in the pre-show. But in the second book, Esther's Christmas Wish, and if I could just say this, Maggie, as well, I would have never thought that there'd be a second one. I'll give you the inspiration behind that, if it's okay.
Yeah.
And we had a Christmas candlelight communion service here in Christmas of 2020, and this lady, she's passed on now, but she came in as she was an older lady with a cane, gray hair, sat on the back pew during Christmas candlelight communion service. And she called me to the back of the church where she was sitting, and I went back there. I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, and it was here at our church, she said, "Pastor Barry, my brother may be coming. Please pray that he will." He was a backslidden pastor.
Wow.
And he came to the service. And right then, God told me, when she was talking to me, he said, "She's Esther too." And I went, "Really, Lord?" I mean, hey, I didn't plan on this. And so Esther's Christmas Wish was born, where Esther has become the one being prayed for to the one praying for somebody else to be restored. And her one Christmas wish is for her brother to come back and be restored to his faith and to his calling. That's her one Christmas wish for that Christmas. the third book, if you want me to go into that now,
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know where that came from. I'll be honest with you. It was except inspiration. That book, Maggie, seems to be the peak of the series. I've got some ladies here in our church at Pleasant Grove that said this is the best one of the whole series, and because it's a winter romance. And Julie Tapkin, a friend of mine down in Arkansas, she's an actress, and she labeled it a winter romance, and I've sort of used that ever since. And so anyway, Esther, of course, has been a widow for, I think, 14 years at that point. I'd have to go back and remember to look, because I think it's 16 years in the fourth book. But anyway, so she goes to Atlanta for Thanksgiving to her daughter's house, Stella, and her husband, Dan, who pastors there. And Dan's family's there for Thanksgiving. And she runs up into an Irish preacher by the name of Alton Carter McBride.
Ooh.
And yeah. And one lady here at church, she told me, she said, when I told her that before the book came out, I said, Esther finds a man. She said, oh, go Esther. And so, but God is trying to fulfill his will in Esther's life by sending her this pastor who's actually on Dan's staff at the church there in Atlanta. And so, but she still feels committed to her late husband, Richard, who's been gone all these years. And I'll leave it there in case anybody, but I'll tell you this, and I may have told you this when we were in Nashville in February, that book is being considered for a film, and it's been pitched to several, and I'm actually waiting to hear back from one from my script writer. She lives in Idaho, and she was recommended by a dear friend of ours, Candace Kirkpatrick. And so I took Candace was a huge instrument in that, and so anyway, so when at the end of Esther 3, I'm like, well, the trilogy is complete. You know, hey, that's it. So I'm at my publisher's office, and John Hill is the head of our Free Will Baptist Press, and he tells me when one day he says, Esther's got to go to heaven. Sometimes there's got to be an ending. I said, don't tell me that. I said, I just put a period on this. And so then all of a sudden, Esther 4 started coming into my heart. It was a little bit of a struggle to try to write that one. But it's God put it together all in his time. You know, you can do a lot of praying and thinking on the lawnmower and or driving down the road in your truck. And and so that's where he gave me some of that. And it's called, the fourth book is called Esther's Christmas Miracle, A Heart in Two Places. It's got a subtitle on it. And she, I don't know that I want to get into too much with that. About what the miracle is. And the reason being is because the fact that it came out more of a blessing to me than what I thought it would be. I felt like at first, Lord, am I just writing a book because of what John said? And then obviously he said, no, he said, you're going to do it this way. And so, because, and Maggie, with all the folks you've talked to, how many folks are hurting out there because of loss and everything else. And if there's something that you or I can do as writers and ministers to bring comfort and healing to them, whether it's maybe we never meet them, that maybe it'll be a blessing. So God knows what he's doing, and we just need to be obedient.
Amen. Amen. That's incredible, because the story of Esther, we have different seasons in life. And so she gets past some past hurts in the first book, and we're not going to give it away, guys, because I want you to go read it because it's so enjoyable. But having her walk through life and getting remarried after being a widow is a challenge. So many people are going to be able to relate to just her story in that sense, but to take it a step further. And you're absolutely right. Who are we to hold back something that might help someone? And I think we talked about before, and I want to reiterate it. So if someone didn't get it, it is very, very important that we understand that whatever season of life we're in, God is going to meet us in that. But there are people that will read a book, watch a film, they will never enter the doors of a church. And that's
Yep.
why what you're doing is powerful, because these are healing messages from faith-filled, Christ-centered messages, but it's not so overtly to where a non-believer would shut it down and go, oh, well, that's one of those Christian things. Because the story and the topics that you have selected resonates across generations, across faith beliefs, if you will, because we know that Jesus is the answer, but everybody has dealt with pain and hurt and disappointment. And so I love what you're doing through that whole series. It's an absolutely wonderful thing. And I hope the storyline, to be honest, and I'm not like saying, thus saith the Lord, prophesying, or saying, Pastor Barry, you need to do a fifth one, but the story needs to continue in a sense to where people get connected with a character. It's like, we look at Superman, right? Superman crossed over generations. Everybody knows, whether you watched the cartoon when you were a kid or whether you were older and seen the movies or whatever, people resonate. And God has placed something in your heart in regards to super stories and stuff like that. So is it too early to share about what he's doing there, or do we want to go there?
Now, which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about what's coming out next year. Well, in
2027.
2027.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Well, no, hey, you're the host and you're walking me through this. Let me show you this picture.
I love it. Bring it up real close where they can see it. There we go. All right.
Yeah, tell you what, I'm gonna get the whole screen. How about that?
I love it. I love it. You guys see that? God, Fire Girl. It fires me up just to see the flyer.
Yes. Well, and I'm not going to say Esther has come to a total end. Catherine Marshall, her husband was Dr. Peter Marshall. He pastored in Washington, D.C. back in the 40s. And whenever he was seeking the next step of God's will, she wrote in her book, I think, about him, said that Peter called it waiting from orders from the chief. And so that's what we all have to do. And so I've had some thoughts of Esther 5, but now we're getting into a season where God, there's a young lady, her name's Christy, lives here in Wayne County. And for years, she would post these things on Instagram story and that kind of thing. And it had a lot of fire to them. Now she calls them God nuggets. But I call them, and I think that's a great term and I like it. But to me, they were like spits of fire, you know what I'm saying? And so I just started calling her God's Fire Girl. Matter of fact, her email, one of her emails reflected that. She brought an email on Gmail with that. And so for years I did that. And then all of a sudden, first of this year, whenever it was, the Lord just started giving me a story, and I told her about it. And she's going to actually edit the book for me when it comes out. I wanted her to have a part in that and that kind of thing. But anyway, and it's a superhero. It's a Christian superhero. And, somebody said, well, I remember the old Bible man,
that's what...
from years back. And to be honest with you, I never watched Bible Man. I haven't watched the first episode that I remember. But in this, actually, Christy gave me the name of this young lady. Her name is Lily, and I think it's after her grandmother. And I did her grandmother's funeral. And Lily starts out not walking with Christ, and she has a friend named Ella. And I got that name from a young lady in our church here. It's amazing how God puts people in your path, and they're college students. And so, anyway, Lily Campbell is her name, and then Ella is her best friend. And Ella's trying to witness to her and invites her to a campus event. What do they call it now? It's I used to call it a camp meeting, but anyway, we'll call it a camp meeting. Anyway, a rally. I'm sorry, youth rally. That's what it was. And so anyway, she goes and she listens, and then she leaves, and Ella's praying for her until she finally discovers Jesus. But then after, and I don't know, this may sound sort of strange. I don't know, Maggie, but I'll let you put a pulse on that one. She and Ella are talking and reading the Bible one night, and all of a sudden she starts sensing these powers, and it's fire. And every time she talks about Jesus, and especially when she talks about Zechariah 4:6, not by might, not by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord. And every time that happens, the fire gets stronger.
I love it.
And so anyway, I'll just say this, that some of the pictures I did myself, but through AI, and the one you saw, and a few others, and I have to send you a few more so you can sort of get a peek at them. And,
sure.
But anyway, she one night she says that in prayer time, she's praying by her bed, and she says, and I pray, Lord, I know that I cannot do things on my own, but and it's not by might, not by power, but by your spirit. And I'm paraphrasing that. And I've got a Bible right here in front of me. I ought to just look it up. But anyway, and it's at that point that all of a sudden she feels this transformation, and the fire just gets larger. And she walks back to her back porch, and all of a sudden she transforms into God's fire girl.
I love it.
and she takes off, and it's almost like a natural thing. Now, she does have a somebody that she takes on, and a villain, and I'm not going to say what happens, or how that they even come together. But when I was thinking about villains for God's Fire Girl, I'm like, well, Barry, what do you preach on? You preach on the spirit of discouragement, the spirit of, so many different things, the spirit of anger. So after going through all that, and I've got actually characters, the spirit of fear that I've generated their photos for later on maybe. But the spirit of anger is villain number one, and his name is Fury. And I didn't get that from any other comic book or any other thing. Those two are two different Furies altogether. But Fury is defined is anger. It's in the anger family.
Yeah.
And so Maggie, I'm sure you know people too that are so full of anger and resentment that it runs their life.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to Esther from a perspective that in the first book, she probably dealt with that. And I just thought about that while we're talking. And so that's why she would lash out at people and what have you. And her brother Jacob in the second book, same way. And so anyway, I'm excited about God's Fire Girl. I've always, I think that you and I were talking in the pre-show about superheroes and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I grew up on them. My brother grew up on them. And so I'm excited to see what God's going to do this. And I think my biggest thing is praying and say, all right, Lord, you've laid this on my heart. Now help me to get it out there so people can see it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that kind of thing. So.
Wow. As you were talking, that just has to become a film or something like that. I'm just so encouraged by, because you think about how many people have followed all of the super characters over the years, all the X-Men, and my favorite. Okay, and I'm not a big superhero person, but putting it in context of dealing with the forces that come against us, the negative mindsets and anger and hurt and disappointment and all of these things that try to stop us as believers, I can see the Fire Girl taking them all down, and pulling down strongholds and stuff. I can literally visualize it as you were talking. And I thought, should she go meet Esther's? Does Esther's new husband, does he have any issues that need to be dealt with? The Fire Girl can take? I'm just saying. I don't know. I'm going there in my head.
No. God's Fire Girl flies to Pinetown, Indiana for Christmas.
Yes,
what do you think?
Yes. I don't know. We never know what the Lord's going to do, but I'm glad that you said yes to these projects because they're super important. But when it comes to the superhero, my favorite and my only one that I'm really pro, and I've used clips. I've taught messages using clips from Spider-Man on the one with the forgiveness. Did you see the one where the guy had the one that I can't think of the name? I think it might have been Spider-Man 2 or 3, where he had all that bitterness about who killed his people. And he had all that anger inside, and it manifested in the black stuff. And remember, he got in that real dark. And it's interesting. There's a scene where how he got free is he climbed up in the top of the temple and he's up there where the bell is and he's pulling off all of this junk and hatred and bitterness and anger. And so I'm like listening to you talk about this and I'm going, yeah, let's take down the strongholds.
Yeah, that's the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, right?
Yes, that one.
Yeah, I remember that one. I sure do.
Yes.
Venom was that character's name.
Yes, and I love that, and I took clips from that and used that as illustration
That's
of just
good.
how toxic, you know.
Yeah.
So we can learn so much through media, whether it's printed and so forth. And you know, we are both we're cut from the same generation. Probably, I'm quite a bit older than you, but you're old enough to have kids and grandkids, right? And I love what God has done with your family over the years, all the creativity, you know, with your daughters and your wife and so forth is such a beautiful thing. I really encourage you guys. I've got the website down below and I want you to go and look at it because there is so much more to Pastor Barry and his family than what we could go into in a short podcast. But I really encourage you to check it out because they've done everything from gospel music and all kinds of stuff out there, television and so forth, all for the glory of God. And so their church is located in North Carolina. So talk for a moment about the church, just in case they're in your area or want to watch you online and so forth. Share a little bit about that if you would.
Well, and I'm glad you asked that question because we've just undergone some changes with our online stuff.
Okay.
Our church. Our church is located at 1100 Pikeville Princeton Road in Pikeville, North Carolina. This December will mark my 23rd year here, and
wow.
So God's blessed in a great way. But so we invite you to come be with us. Our Sunday services are at 11, and right now I'm doing a study in Revelation for the summer. It's on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. But let me go back to the online because we did some renovations, and you may have seen them on Facebook. I'm not sure, Maggie, to the front of our church, and it's come along really well. So we had to revamp our sound room a little bit, and we've actually got our YouTube channel up and running at Pleasant Grove Church, and I'll be sharing that on Facebook here soon. My son-in-law, Austin, has been dealing with that, and we've been doing Facebook Live, but what we'll be able to do with YouTube is be able to put it on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
It'll upload to Facebook, and we're in the process of putting together a brand new website. So it'll be
nice.
able to go, we'll have it on 3 different places. So we do have a radio station here, a low power radio station. We're still working on getting that rehooked up so we can go back live at 11 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning. And of course, I've been in television since 92. I've got 2 television programs, Together Again with Barry Stallings, which is a Southern gospel music video program. And then, of course, our church has a TV program called Pleasant News from the Grove. And so you're right. And thanks for the shout out to my family. Let me say this about Esther, too. My daughter, Katie, took that and reformatted that book for me in a lot of ways from a writing perspective to make it more relaxed. And she's the one who gave Esther her address at 223 Church Street and added a few other things in there. And so my wife, Olivia, she actually edited. I thought it was very appropriate. She edited book 3 since it was a sort of a winter romance, and wrote the foreword for that particular story as well. So now John Heald, he's the publisher at the press. He's the one that gave me the inspiration for Esther 4. So I said, "You're writing the foreword, dude." I said, "Because you're the one who gave me the inspiration." Miss Kelly Finch wrote the foreword for Esther 2, and Irene Santiago, actress in Wilmington, for the first book. So I'm very blessed to have so many great people around me.
You have an amazing team and amazing support, and all of the prayers and the support come together to do something beautiful. You know, we get these downloads from God, but yet we need other people to come along and link arms with us and help us to bring it to fruition. So it's absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. My goodness, there are so many great things going on over there in North Carolina. So I'm looking forward to checking out the new website. I'm in the process of doing the same thing myself because a lot of changes are coming to moving for a ministry next year, and I know the undertaking it is. But you've got a great crew. You got a great crew.
And they've we've got several in the sound room, and they're all working on it together. And our radio station is getting its own website as well, so we can stream on it.
Awesome.
low power radio stations. So all that's coming together. It takes time, of course, but
Yes.
it's all coming together in time. And of course, Esther's got her website. I may have to revisit that a little bit with God's Fire Girl coming out and give it a new web address. But for right now, it's going to stay ChristmasGiftForEstherSeries.com. So everybody will know where to get it. It's so out there, you know what I'm saying? Or who knows, maybe God's Fire Girl will have so much of a punch, she gets her own website. You never know.
I love it. I love it. And I just pulled it up and it says, for our God is a consuming fire. Hebrews 12:29. This fire girl, I'm fired up about the Fire Girl. Okay. A Christian superhero story by Barry Stallings coming in 2027. I'm over the moon about this. So listen, you guys, you heard it here.
Well, and I tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. I haven't come out with a release date in 27 yet, but when I do, I'll let you know so you can have the first podcast shot. How about that?
I'll take it. I'll take it. I love to promote what God's doing. And it's definitely something to be fired up about. And there again, it crosses over generations. You know, in my prayer closet a few years back, the Lord told me everything you do from here out, Maggie, has got to connect with legacy. And what you've done is you have sowed into your beautiful family, and there's legacy coming forth and so much creativity. All of these stories are coming alive, and people can come and connect with it and go further and faster with their walk with the Lord. So, oh my goodness, this time just flies by when we're chatting. So let me ask you this. If you could leave the audience with the key, Pastor Barry, what would that key be?
Well, first of all, let me say this, Maggie. Thanks for having me on again. And I always love to hear from you and all our friends out in Central Tennessee and around Nashville. Probably the key that I would leave is this. I never grew up as an avid reader coming along. Mm-hmm. Then I got saved, and that changed. And my late grandmother used to tell me, she used to say, if you're going to be a pastor, you need to do that. Never thought I'd write a book. If somebody had told me that I'd write my first book, I would have thought it was April Fool's Day or something. But anyway, but don't let the devil ever tell you can't do anything, because the Bible says that we can do all things through Christ that strengthens us. And so through him, anything that you feel like the Lord is leading you to do, go through that door and don't let the devil talk you out of it, because if you do, you'll find all the blessings of heaven falling upon you, and you'll be rewarded like, it'll just be wonderful to know that you've obeyed and done God's will.
Yes, yes. There's nothing like it. Walking in the Spirit of the Lord according to his word. And Amen. So that's a beautiful thing. So listen, y'all, check out A Christmas Gift for EstherSeries.com. And you can get all the pertinent information on there. It's got Pastor Barry's bio, but I've got some down below as well. And if you have any questions, reach out to him. He's very personable, easy to talk to, as you can tell. We met at NRB. We could talk the paint off the wall and talk about Jesus and all the great things. We know there's a lot of things that you can do with your time that you spent here with us today. We hope that you share this with your friends and family and coworkers and encourage them. If you have not read the series about Esther, connect with that and get a copy for someone who might be hurting that needs to hear the story.
Special sale right now for Christmas in July, Maggie. You can get all 3 books for $40, and you'll get the Esther Christmas ornament you see right here absolutely free. So just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, because we are in Christmas in July. And back there on the back of the shelf, you can see those. But real quick, I just want to put in a quick plug. I know we're over time, but it just take a second. Pastor Barry also has another book that was written for new converts. Can you share real quick about that?
Yes, this book that you see on the shelf right there is it's one that was a new converts class that I taught here at church 14 years ago. And it was just some notes that I had put together. And then when Esther 3 came out, I'm like, I was just reading through them, and I'm like, you know what, this might be a good resource for somebody. So I sent it to John over at the press, him and Darren, and John, for him to go through it and edit it. And he said, yeah. So he put some touches to it, and it has turned out to be a really good study resource. Folks in the community outside of this church have gotten it, and some folks ran into me at the county fair last year and told me, folks I went to high school with, and told me how much it was a blessing. So that is also, all of these books, of course, not God's Fire Girl yet because it's not out, but all of these books are on the Christmas Gift for Esther website that Maggie was talking about. So, and these books are like $5.99 or something like that, and that kind of thing. But you can also buy them in bulk if you want to teach a class at your church. Whatever the thing may be. Now, at the very end, there is a little there's a little part just for Original Free Will Baptists in our denomination, but most people can take the first half of that book and apply it, and there's questions to answer and all that kind of stuff. So yes, be sure to look at the website for all that too. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's wonderful to have a resource because, we should be talking to people about Jesus. As you lead someone to the Lord, give them the Bible, but also give them something else to take it a step further. Discipleship is important. And the first step is all these first steps are in this book. So I encourage you guys. And then once you purchase the books, make sure to go give a review because it really helps the author whenever you can review and give a feedback of how it impacts you. Pastor Barry, thank you so much for being here with me again today.
Thank you, Maggie. God bless you and keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir. God bless you guys. We will see you here next time on Keys to Your Best Life.